You look fine, but you're not fine. And that's exactly what we're here to talk about. Welcome to Fine, But Not Fine, the podcast about navigating rare disease, healthcare battles, and the messy reality of chronic illness. I'm Kelly Paul, and I've been living with mycosis fungoides since 2015. This is a space for real talk, real experiences, and practical advice. Because surviving is one thing, but figuring out how to actually live, that's the hard part. Imagine you're already juggling doctor's visits, prescriptions, insurance authorizations, and then you add job hunting on top. For those of us with rare or chronic illness, changing jobs isn't just about a new boss or workplace or new type of work. It can mean changing everything about how we manage our care. Why is that? Because insurance is attached to our workplaces. And you have these issues you need to identify and you need to assess, right? Will your new insurance at your new employer cover your current doctor, medication, or specialty pharmacy? Or will you have to change one or all of them, right? There's also financial stress. Gaps in insurance coverage can happen when you're switching from one employer to another. There are things like waiting periods. COBRA coverage can actually add costs when you're also facing pay delays with a new job because it may take a while to get you in the system and get paid. And then there's the age-old disclosure dilemma, right? Do you, and if you do, when, do you tell a new employer about your condition? Do you do it up front? Do you do it later? Do you not do it at all? You know, my last job changed. My current employer knew my situation, so I just didn't give a thought to it. But I did interview with some organizations where I would have had to give some thought to it during my last job search. And heck, I mean, this is a biggie, guys. Before the Affordable Care Act came along, it was really difficult for people with cancer to change jobs because a new insurance company could deny them coverage. So essentially, changing jobs wasn't really an option once you had a cancer diagnosis. So if you're considering changing jobs and you have a chronic illness, what are some of the things you should consider? Well, you need to do a thorough health insurance plan review. You need to review your current plan coverage with your potential new coverage, and there are some things you need to specifically check for. Medication categories and costs. Is your current medication covered? How much will it cost? Is it more or less than what you're currently paying? Are you okay with the differences that may be in place? And you may be coming off of a plan where everything was covered, and now we have all these stratic categories of medication, like tier 1 is, I'm making this up, cholesterol and medication, and tier 2 is, hormone replacement therapy or something, and you get to tier 4, which is where, unfortunately, a lot of my medications end up. Those are all you pay a percentage and it depends kind of thing. So you need to know that. You also need to plan your transition and timing it. Is there a probation period at your new employer before your benefits start? And if so, have you considered COBRA or the Affordable Care Act marketplace as a coverage, is coverage for a gap? And you need to make sure you factor in that your ongoing treatments, and don't schedule a change right before a major scan or therapy cycle if you can help it. Because what happens is you may have to go through the whole approval process again. And some jobs may give you health insurance for the whole month as long as you work one day in it, and that's because you're prepaying for your health insurance. So check your current plan and see if that's the case, because it could influence when you want your last day to be at your old employer or current employer, and when you want your first day to be at your new employer. You might be able to prevent having any kind of coverage gap, potentially. You also need to consider legal and HR protections, so FMLA, the Family Medical Leave Act. Some employers use it fiercely, and for some, they're like, whatever. And if an employer has fewer than 50 employees, FMLA doesn't apply. And if you do go somewhere where it does apply, you do have to work there for 12 months before you're eligible to use it. And you can get ADA, Americans with Disability Act accommodations. You have to request them. So that means you have to disclose them, right? You don't have to tell them all the details, but just you need an accommodation and what that accommodation is. Then there are short and long-term disability insurance options. Does your current employer pay for some or both of those? And would your new employer pay for one or both of those? Or do you pay for it? And what's the cost difference? What are the rules? When does it apply? What are all of the things that come into play with that? And then there are also what I'm going to call practicalities. Before you leave your current employer and your current insurance, do you have enough refills, right, of your current medications? Is your care team ready to provide transition letters, or are they prepared for appeals if your coverage changes and you need to go down that path again for your treatments? There's also an emotional side to job changes, and these are as important as those above, but they're a bit more internal. So what you need to do is sort of a self-assessment. And one is about your workplace identity. And this is all about wanting to be seen as the capable person you are versus worrying about how your illness will impact the perception of your new colleagues. It's a new workplace. How you approach it with your illness, right? Will you be open or not, and what will the impact be? I know I continue to be very open, but that's not common, and it's not necessarily right for others, right for you. So, what's your plan here? What are you going to do? You also have some of the stress, I would say, around the fear of gaps in care, because you're probably going to have gaps in care. What's your plan for managing that? And by managing, I mean anxiety around it, any stress around managing the whole pre-authorization process again. Tip here, find your paperwork from last time so it's ready to deploy if you need it. And then there are burnout risks. Applying and interviewing for jobs when healthy is stressful, but when doing it with a chronic illness, it can take a lot of energy and a lot of time that's already limited for us. So what's your plan for this? What are you going to offload, right? So you can do this well. It may be you're doing weekly meal planning. It may be, depending on your situation, you may be asking someone else to take on a job at home, or maybe you're seeking outside help. Whatever it is, make a plan for it. Now, my only job change since I've been diagnosed with mycosis fungoides is one I would have sought anyway, but by the elimination of my division, the choice was made for me a little bit earlier than I had planned on. And yes, I had to apply and interview for jobs, multiple, but everything I had was going away no matter what I did. So I had a different kind of fervor, and that was around getting a good job that I enjoyed, that had health insurance that wouldn't break my new employer, and where I could flex as needed based on my treatment needs. I still had to work for it, but my comparisons were a little bit different. They were more to other potential jobs, not the one I currently had, though I did use the benefits at my, the current job at the time, kind of to ID what I liked and didn't like about it from not just the work aspect, but around the health insurance aspect. I knew my health insurance would be significantly different, and how could I plan for that? Where did I make up for some of those differences? So some practical steps for you. If you're an online person, do this online. If you're a print person, do it in print. But create a repository, a sort of job transition binder, if you will. And in it have all your prescription information. What are your prescriptions? What are your costs? How often do you need to get them? Where do they come from? Specialty pharmacy, regular pharmacy, mail pharmacy, whatever it may be. And any appeal letters from pre-authorization challenges you've had in the past for any of your medications, because this will make it much quicker if you have them with your new insurer. And then any insurance coverage specific. So almost like an outline or a grid of what's covered, what's the cost, like what are your copays, what are your deductibles, what are your prescription copays, prescription deductibles, and what are your any kind of annual maximums and lifetime maximums. And this way you can easily compare a potential employer's offering with what you currently have, because you have it all in one place that's easy to access. You're also going to want to have a support system. So lean on advocacy groups like the Cutaneous Lymphoma Foundation, NORD, or others for guidance on appeals and coverage issues, and tap into HR for clarity on benefits before accepting a job offer. People not dealing with a chronic illness also ask for this information because it's part of the benefits package. And HR professionals, this is why you need to provide this information with a job posting. Health insurance benefits are pay for service, and people want to evaluate that as part of a package, not just the salary. And you need to monitor your mental health. Connect with the people who support you mentally. Career and job change is stressful for absolutely everyone. And then when you layer in rare disease management and the challenges it presents, it can, really kind of take that up a notch. But if you're looking for a new job, you're looking for a new career, you're looking for a new challenge, you want to do something different, you just don't like where you are, these things are all really worthwhile, and they can make the process much easier for you. Thanks for listening to Fine But Not Fine. If this episode resonated with you, subscribe so you don't miss what's next. And if you got a story, question, or just need to vent, reach out. I'd love to hear from you. Until next time, take care and keep on going.